a thriving artist is like uh, being able to support yourself financially to cover everything, to exist and to do what you love without too much limitation. I think that's probably the best way of describing it for me.
Fork in the road between thriving and starving artists is where I'm at. I really like your work. I can't eat lights. I need new heights. Just want to make a living doing the work I love. Throw the notion of a starving artist out of the window. Take the elevator down to the ground floor and jump on it some more.
Hello and welcome to the Fork in the Road again, and today I am lucky enough to be speaking with Tortor Smith, aka animator. I think I said that correctly. I'm not sure. That's your kind of like your business name. It's very, very clever. You're a stop motion animator, director, writer, YouTuber, Skillshare teacher. Whereabouts First of all, welcome, and whereabouts did your creative journey begin for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been creative. So from early childhood, was into art and painting and everything. As I got older and I got to this sort of age where you're trying to decide what you want to do in life, I also had technical skills as well as the creativity. So there was the possibility that I might become a financial advisor or something very boring like that. But I just couldn't be pulled away from the creativity. And then I just happened to find stop motion animation, which sort of combines technical and creative all together. So when I was about 17, I started doing that and fell in love with it, and everything sort of just spiraled from there.
Yeah, right. And you've got a cinematography background as well, don't you?
Yes, I do. I did a degree in animation, which sort of taught us all about filmmaking, how to
Yeah,
do every element. Yeah.
yeah. And what inspired you? What were the first stop motion animations you were seeing that thought, maybe I could start mucking around with this kind of thing?
Well, growing up, I was always fascinated by animation. I never really realised that adult humans created it. But, stuff like Wallace and Gromit by Aardman and Morph. Also, Ray Harryhausen, who's one of the pioneers, and he did Jason and the Argonauts, all the little monsters and things. I was just like, wow, that's incredible that somebody's actually made those move. And so, yeah, I was always just absorbing it. And then I just literally got a lump of clay and just tried it myself and was like, wow, this is like magic. It feels like
Yeah,
literally you're a magician putting life into stuff. Yeah.
yeah. That is incredible. And to think of the amount of time that goes into creating stop motion animation or animation itself at the moment, the short films that you've been working on, have you worked out pretty much how long it takes to create a minute of film?
Oh, well, I'm quite a fast animator. I don't know whether that's
Yeah.
because of my ADHD, but I tend to animate about 8 to 10 seconds in a day, which is quite good. So, you on a good week, perhaps you could get a minute if you were lucky, but probably to be safe, I'd say a couple of weeks of time to make a minute's worth of animation. So yeah.
Yeah. So you've got to be incredibly passionate about it and like right in there the whole time, very focused, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Aardman before, and like you must have been very excited. Like so your short film Hot Mess has won many awards, been accepted into many festivals as well, and you made it at Aardman Studios. How did you manage to score that gig?
Yeah. So Aardman have an academy which is sort of to train people essentially to work in the industry. And for the first time ever last year, they invited 10 filmmakers from all around the world to make a film that's your own film at their studios with their help. So I applied with an idea and they happened to choose me. And then I went to Bristol for 6 months and Hot Mess came to life. And you had like experts on hand to help at every stage. So David Sproxton, who's one of the co-founders of Aardman, he helped with our cinematography. Susie Templeton, who's an Oscar winner. She won an Oscar with Peter and the Wolf. She was helping us with directing tuition, so how to tell our stories in the best ways and to think about different things. And we had, literally a mentor for every different area of filmmaking. So it was quite surreal and incredible experience.
Yeah, that must be amazing. Like, and how did you have to I imagine it must be quite difficult putting your life on hold for 6 months. Did you have to save up for that, or was there some scholarship kind of thing where you could get through that period of time, or how did you manage to pay the bills while you were gone completely into animation land?
Yeah, it was quite an expensive adventure. There were fees involved for the course as well, so it probably set me back about £20,000 altogether to take the time out because I wasn't able to work. I had a place that I was paying rent on in London as well as in Bristol. So yeah, everything added up. And before I started the course, I took on extra work to try and get more money in. I borrowed some money as well, and my mum and dad also helped out. So it was a range of different um, sources of income to make it happen. But I just sort of thought, if you don't do these things, like you only live once, and sometimes you just have to take a risk. So I feel like hopefully it will pay dividends in the future. I'm still working on paying some of that money back, but you know, I feel more able to make films now, which is like a really big thing to come out of it. So like
Yep.
hence I'm already making another film, which is great. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, how do Aardman see that? Do they see this idea of having people come and work at the studios as a way potentially of finding new animators, or how does that support range out beyond the mentoring on site?
Yeah, I think they're always on the lookout for talent, but they do say that there's no guarantee of a job if you go on a course. Uh, but potentially you could get picked up for a role. The whole academy actually started with the first Chicken Run film, so at that time there weren't enough people that were skilled at animation to do that film. So they just started training people up. So it's been around for quite a while, but this is the first time they actually brought people into their studio to make films. And I mean, we've got those connections. We can use that Aardman name, which is really helpful. Yeah, so that's cool.
Yeah, I was going to ask that because you've made that at Aardman Studios. Is there are you able to um, profit out of that short film in any way? Like be able to um, I don't know how you make money back from a short film, or is it just like something which is magnificent on your resume, or is there actually some way you can financially get some of that money back from it?
Yeah, it's always a challenge with short films. They sort of are sort of made to not make money, so hence why it's hard to get investment for them as well. But then, like submitting it into festivals, some festivals do have prize money on offer. So if you're lucky, you could
Hmm.
win some money back through that. I did win a competition where I got some gear, so I got like microphone and some software, which I guess is sort of money back in kind, which is quite cool.
Yeah,
But yeah, you could potentially sell the film to a platform and maybe make revenue that way, or like put it on Vimeo for a small amount of money, and potentially people might pay to see it. But yeah, it's generally quite
yeah.
hard to claw that money back.
Yeah, but how do you tackle the film festival circuit, and how do you decide which ones to go for? Because I imagine the festivals themselves cost a bit of money as well, and also if you get selected for a prize, you might want to try and attend to that festival and all of those things.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, how do you work out that stuff?
Yeah, it's well, it was my first time doing festivals, so it's a big learning experience for
Yeah,
me. And I just applied to as many as I could, so I had a budget in mind. And there are festivals that are free to enter, which is good, and there are cheaper ones as well. And there's a main platform called Film Freeway, which you can submit to. So you essentially fill out everything for your film once, and then you can choose
Hmm.
festivals and it all gets sent to them. And they offer a marketing spot where you can pay a small amount of money, and all of the festival directors at like 4,000 festivals get emailed that you're looking to submit your film. And I did that,
Right.
and I got like discounts and waivers. So a waiver means you don't have to pay a fee, and that meant I could submit to more festivals. But yeah, I do prioritize ones I can attend, so I do submit to a lot of London ones.
Hmm.
Because I think one of the most valuable things with festivals as well is the networking aspect and growing your network and sort of making new connections, getting your name out there. So yeah, it's much better to be able to attend a festival, but it does get quite expensive. Yeah.
And I'm just back on the production of your short film, Hot Mess. One thing I really loved about what you were doing while you were making that film is you were releasing these little mini vlogs, I mean, sorry, on Instagram. Um, I found that was like you'd done that really well, and it like kind of brought you through the process. Was that something? Did you have to arrange that with Aardman, or were they completely fine with you to go ahead with that? And because I thought it was a really great way to promote your film.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I really wanted to document it in some form because it's quite a sort of unique experience to be able to do. So right up front, when they offered me a place, I said, was it okay to document what I was doing? And they said, as long as I only filmed within the academy space where we were actually making our films, that was okay. So like the wider Aardman, where they make commercials and stuff, I couldn't film, but all of my
Hmm.
own filmmaking, it was completely cool. So yeah, I just tried to document as much as I could to try and help people see what went into it and so they could sort of experience it as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I recommend anyone watching the podcast or listening to the podcast. I mean, your link will be in the show notes, but definitely go check out those because it was a really concise and really well thought out progression, week by week as you were going through. So, but you've got, so if that wasn't enough, you've got a new film now. You're still in the festival circuit and you're straight into another film. Can you tell us a bit about what that film is about, how you're planning on making it, and you've also got a Kickstarter. Please tell everyone about the Kickstarter. Hopefully, if you're listening, you might be able to help out.
Yeah, cool. Well, the new film's called Stumbling Blocks, and it's inspired by the loss of my nan last year to cancer and sort of a lot of chaos that happened after she passed and having to deal with stuff. And the idea that when one thing in your life falls down, it can sort of be a catalyst for lots of things falling down, a bit like dominoes. So I've got a character that's made of dominoes, and dominoes are sort of used throughout. I've got the set behind me. You might be able to see just over here.
Yep.
There's that's like a
Oh,
little
very cool.
a domino graveyard.
Yeah.
And then I've got big stone dominoes. I don't think I've got one right here, but it's almost like Stonehenge, but with dominoes, and all the action happens within this ring of dominoes with the character, and it's sort of symbolizing their internal world. And essentially, their whole world collapses and they've got to rebuild it and find a new normal, which I think a lot of people can relate to when something sort of bad happens in your life.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the idea, and I'm always looking for opportunities to kind of pitch and try and get funding and stuff. So back in, I think it was September last year, I pitched this idea to a company that were offering some funding for filmmakers. And February this year, they got back to me and said that they'd chosen my film. So it meant that I got a very small amount of money, a couple of £1,000, to help me get this all started, which is
Yeah.
essentially, paid for all the materials to make everything. And now I'm at a point where I've run out of money, and I'd quite like some motion control to help with the cinematography,
Yeah.
put some camera moves, focus pulls, so it's all like motorized and I don't have to worry about that as the animator. So that's what the Kickstarter's for, to help me buy that software and the
Yeah.
technology to go with it. And then I'm going to obviously be documenting all of that as well. So people that might want to use that themselves will learn how to set it up and how to use it with stop motion animation.
That's very cool. And is this a claymation film or something else?
No, it's a character. It's got a wire armature inside, and I've used a substance
Yes.
called sugru. I don't know if you've heard Subaru.
Right.
It's
I
sort of
haven't.
a
No.
it's a moldable glue, so it's flexible, and I've sort of moved it along the wire to cover it, and then it dries solid. But because it's a silicone, it can still bend.
Right.
So it looks like clay, but it means that I can handle it, and it's not going to deform or get damaged as easily. Um, which I thought was sensible because, yeah,
Yeah.
clay requires like remodeling every frame. So
Yeah. And what's the running time on this one?
it's only going to be 4 minutes, so slightly longer than
Hmm.
Hot Mess, but I'm still keeping it short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good luck with that. What kind of what are you aiming for on your Kickstarter?
It's I wanted to be successful, so I haven't gone too high. Literally
Hmm.
just the amount to cover this motion control. So
Hmm.
£1,750, which I think's reasonable.
Yeah.
And that should also cover the platform fees. And then
Yeah.
if we manage to exceed that, then it will help with festivals for this film as well.
Just a quick intermission to say that the Fork in the Road podcast has a Patreon as well, where you get a whole bunch of special things. You get an extended hour-long advert-free things, like you get to ask the podcast guests questions. You get a blog where I deep dive things which, might help make you successful and me successful, because I'm learning along the way too. You can also chat with me one-on-one and talk about your art business and make it work together. Back to the interview.
Yeah. And I think there's definitely an art to making a really good short film, because I mean, I find it quite, because I came from a filmmaking background myself, but not animation,
Yeah.
and they saw short films as one of those things, as a stepping stone to either to get you into university or some kind of film school or something like that, and then you make your feature film. But they're two completely different animals, really. Like for someone to go from a short film to a feature film, they're a very different thing narratively. I can't even say that word properly, but the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can see why you would want to keep making short films. I'm wondering if there's a way that people who are making short films and animation and things like this, if you have this public identity, this personal brand, that you have some kind of website or something like that, where people can, pay per view on your videos, and that way you can be your own film distributor in a way, because that was going to be my next kind of avenue, is like, where does a film go once it's done the film festival circuit? Where would you like to see it go? And do you have plans for Hot Mess? Is that going to go somewhere?
Yeah, so all the films I make have an important message in them, and Hot Mess was inspired by me learning that I had ADHD. So I've already reached out to a few ADHD charities, and I plan to, after festivals, the film will be used in collaboration with charities, and they may show it at events to help people, because it's sort of. I've had quite a lot of feedback from people watching it at festivals, and it's not just help people that are struggling like myself, but it's helped people that exist around those people to just understand it a little bit better. So it's sort of like that film in particular is going to hopefully like raise awareness about ADHD and the struggles that we have when you have it. And beyond that, perhaps even approaching some schools and trying to inspire kids to get involved with stop motion. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be very cool. Um, yeah, whether you go around to actual schools and set something up. I know, because that's like completely fascinating when you look at, I know my girls, I used to be a cinema projectionist for many years, and just when when they realize that moment, they realize that what they're looking at in the cinema, there's all these tiny little frames. You look right in very close to see all these frames. It's magic, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
And that's the romanticized part of the traditional style, because I know I miss being a cinema projectionist. You know, there's something about screening film as opposed to screening a digital film. Have you thought about shooting yours on film at all? Or are they shot on film? Are you using a DSLR or is it digital or?
Yeah, I'm using a DSLR. So
Yeah,
yeah, the benefit of that is you get instant feedback and you can sort of see how
yeah,
something has worked. Um, but yeah, I'd love to experiment with actual film and developing it for a project. I think that'd be really fun. I think there are sort of things like Kodak. I think there's a competition somewhere. I'm sure I've read it where there's a prize and they will supply all of the film and the processing for you to actually make a film uh, like that. So yeah, perhaps that's something that I can explore.
yeah. I mean, that's interesting. I did like back in my film school days, I did a little animation. It's not an animation like what you do, but very very simple using Super 8,
Yeah.
and that's quite fun. But yeah, it's a completely different world now, and it'd be interesting to see. I mean, hopefully these things do stay relevant in the modern climate because I think people still buy albums on vinyl and things like that because there's a reason people love the old school style and the quality that comes with that as well. So if you were to start your career fresh and in this current climate that we're in, is there any different kind of approach you would have done? Would have you gone harder on something sooner, or would have you spent less time on this and more time on that? If in terms of helping anybody else who's planning on doing something like you're doing,
Mhm. Yeah.
what would you focus on to get where you are now?
Yeah. Well, in terms of growing a following on social media as well to help yourself, consistency is something that I've really struggled with. And I think that the key to building up a following is consistency. So doing a challenge like animating something for 15 seconds every single day and posting it online would be a really good way of building up a following. It's something I've seen other people doing, and it's like I wish that I'd done something like that because it would have not only helped with growing the following, but it would have just also been fun, and I think it would help you grow as an artist and develop your skills faster as well. So something
Hmm.
like that. And also with making short films, like I sat on it for so many years. Like I've wanted to do this for over a decade, and I just felt like I couldn't. I guess because I didn't have the financial means to do it. And so I just kept saying, oh no, I can't do that because it just feels like I should be doing something that's earning me money. Um,
Yeah.
but actually, I really love it. And I can feel like it's my thing that I'm meant to be doing is telling stories through this medium. And so I guess I wish that I just hadn't put it off and waited and I just started a bit sooner with making the short films. Because yeah, I think too many people have a dream and they just think, oh no, I can't do that, or it's not the right time right now. But I think just go for it and just do the thing because anything can happen, and you can make it work for less money. It doesn't have to be as expensive as you think it might be. So yeah.
Would be quite similar there. There's a lot of excuses that you can tell yourself to stop you creating the art, and could be time, could be money, and often those things can be the thing which makes your work great. Because I was talking recently, the episode's not published yet, with Sue Brown. She makes horror films, DIY horror films, and just the fact that you have to, you don't have 6 weeks to shoot a film. You've got 2 weeks to shoot a film,
Yeah.
and like all of a sudden that means you're shooting in one location, and all of a sudden that changes the script. It forces you to be creative, because
Yeah.
if you want to make it, there is a way around it. And also with my work, because I've got kids, I'm homeschooling at the moment as well. And just that thing of the idea that an artist can have as perfect studio time. They sit down in their studio and they work for an hour or whatever. For me, that's a joke. I get like 10 minutes here. I get 10 minutes there. I get the time when everybody's asleep at night. And I'm up working then. You can find the time. And,
Yeah, if you
and I
really
think,
want something, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I think that's very important what you say. You just you got to start sooner and try and not use any of those things as an excuse, because life will always give you excuses.
Yeah, definitely. And like you were saying, limitations do make you stronger and make your art stronger as well. Like most of my films have one set and like one character with this new film. So it's quite simple in that respect. But that makes it more possible because the bigger you make something, the more money you need and the more time you need. So yeah, simple is good and limitations are good as well.
Yeah. I wonder, in terms of an extra revenue stream, have you contemplated creating some merchandise of some kind, either like, art prints or the figures from your work or anything like that?
Yeah, it's something that I'm exploring. At present, all I've got is postcards, which I give out at festivals. But yeah, it's finding the time, and I know I shouldn't make excuses, but I am juggling quite a lot at the moment. But yeah, it's something that I'm looking into and trying to work out how I can make that work when it's just mainly me doing everything. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and another thing I was thinking about as well, is that I know I know with all the frames in your film, I know with a lot of animations, are you aware of like when people would buy like a cell of animation
Mm.
as like as a
Yeah,
collector's item? I'm kind of wondering, in modern animation, could that be investigated in terms of NFT releases or things like that?
yeah.
Um, I know some people are anti NFT, and I don't know that it's necessarily a good a good time now. But I mean, all it is a digital authentication of that piece, and that's tracked back to you as an artist as well. So
Mhm.
I don't know how many frames you have in your films, but they could all potentially be something of a revenue source as well. So.
Yeah, that's a really exciting idea. I think, yeah, that would appeal to people. And I think potentially that's something I should look into as well. Um, yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, it's just something that occurred to me because I know someone approached Quentin Tarantino about selling selling frames out of his films, and I just thought, well, that's really incredible, because a lot of, I mean, you're creating art frame by frame by frame by frame, so you're making, I don't know how many frames are in your film, thousands. Each
Yeah.
each frame is a piece of artwork,
Mhm.
and so yeah. That just got me to thinking. Sorry, that was a bit of a sideline, but
Yeah.
I try and look at it, everything as like, how can something make more money? So that might
Mhm.
be a possible line.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, it is so good speaking with you after all these years. I met you first on YouTube when I just first started out on YouTube, and we're in communication since then. And to other artists as well, I would say YouTube is a really good way to find other creators in your field and not even in your field. As have you found you've developed some good community through your YouTube channel?
Yes, I have. Yeah, people all around the world that either are an artist in a different field and they want to try stop motion, or they're just like fascinated, not interested in creating it themselves, but they're just fascinated by the process and trying to learn from it, like how they can bring ideas into their own work and stuff.
Yeah, YouTube's a bit of a different animal for social media, I think, because everything else like Instagram and TikTok and everything that is very, very transient, whereas YouTube content is what they call evergreen content, and it stays out there, it stays valuable for as long as YouTube is.
Yeah.
And I've found the community there very good. So any artists out there should think about trying to get onto YouTube, because it is probably one of the good base platforms, I think, for any creators out there.
Yeah.
And it's where I found you.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing to see the journey that you've had, all the way up to working at Aardman, which is mind blowing because I love Aardman films, as I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining me today. And if you've got a link for the Kickstarter,
Yep.
let me know. I'll put that in the show notes, and everybody get on there and help support Tortor. That would be fantastic. And good luck with that. And when you get that film out, feel free to come back and have another chat. I'd love to talk about your experience with that.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me today. I've really enjoyed doing this and having a chat with you. It's been great.
No worries. It's fantastic. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Fork in the Road podcast, or watching the Fork in the Road podcast. For those people watching on Patreon, we also have it as a video on Spotify and YouTube. If you like the idea of chatting with artists, talking about how you go from starving to thriving, how you become a successful artist, whatever that means to you, whatever a thriving artist means. If you like this kind of thing, you can support the podcast in many ways. Apart from becoming a Patreon, you can just share it with your friends, or you could leave a review on iTunes. I think iTunes do review. Whoever does reviews, if you look in your podcast channel, if it allows you to do a review, or if you're watching on YouTube, please comment, please like, and I won't be one of those podcasts that go, you got to give a 5-star review. If there's something about the podcast you don't like, let me know. Write it in the comments and see if I can, tweak it a little bit to make it work better for everybody. But yeah, 5-star review would be pretty awesome. But anyway, check you next time.